All right, welcome to Align Trading. Going over today's SPY recap and live analysis before taking a look at what to be watching into tomorrow. So, first thing that I explained in the pre-market brief for Discord members today was to be watching the 5 and 20-day moving average once again, as we were between it to open the day. You can see we've been between it for the last couple of days here within this range, just in time for Nvidia earnings, which was today, and we'll talk about that later. But back to the 30-minute chart, you can see that I explained you have to be paying attention to this level right here. If we did want to form the gap fill, we would need to remain above the 5-day moving average right here and see this purple buying continuation and close that gap. So with us being unable to break out of this yellow and blue controlled selling right there, we also had to pay attention to that 5-day that was right here to see if we got the bounce. And you can see how we formed that resistance off of breaking out of this green algorithm. And like I explained, you would be wanting to see that to the downside, and then ultimately the break of 588 for if we were going to continue lower. And you see how we reach that 20-day moving average once again, closing this inverse cup here. Now we will come back to this here in a minute, but we're going to go over the 1-minute chart first and talk about this right here, and I will show you how this looks intraday. So now here on the 1-minute chart, going over the microstructure and algorithms, we will go over this first. So you can see here at the open, we initially get the selling within this yellow and orange algorithm right there to the downside. You can also see the selling pressure right here. So with that, we are looking for this 5-day moving average to turn into some sort of possible support here. And you see that we just head right through it with that orange selling. And then from there, it looks like we may start to taper right here. And I explained that if that does start to form, must be seeing this 5-day turn into some sort of support right there. Otherwise, we will continue heading down, and you must pay attention to this 20-day moving average that is below right here. And you can see within this blue algorithm, we're unable to break out and head up to that 5-day moving average, even for a retest slightly higher like that. We cannot head up, and we see within this white, right, that head and shoulder forming, and then if you pay very close attention, right, you can see this very small inverse cup and handle right there. And then once again, right, that beautiful head and shoulder to break out the bottom of that blue algorithm, still within this yellow selling right there. And then we see this orange, right, getting more aggressive to the downside. So after reaching this 20-day moving average right here, you can see how we initially have that bounce off of it, but still right within that Y algorithm, you see that head and shoulder form, and we get some more downside right here, but it is short-lived because we can still see this tapering right here with that blue, and you can see within this yellow how we start to form that inverse head and shoulder off of that 5-day moving average, as well as that cup and handle within that yellow and blue, which we start to head up right there. Now, this is exactly what we wanted to see here at the 20, as I explained on the 30-minute chart, right after closing this inverse cup here. We do want to see that 20 turn into resistance if we are going to head down and even retest that 584. We couldn't retest those lows either, and so we were waiting for this handle to form. As I explained, if a bounce does happen to this level, pay attention, right? We can still be forming this handle, and you'll see how we could not carry through with the selling even after forming this inverse cup back to the 20-day moving average. So right here you can see after that bounce, right, we are within this yellow and blue controlled selling. You can see these inverse head and shoulders on the way up right there. But when it comes time to grab this shoulder of liquidity and continue closing this cup right here, we cannot. You see how we are still within this white algorithm right there, and we start forming that head and shoulder, inverse cup and handle for an entry, and then from there, right, you continue seeing that white algorithm working on the way down. Beautiful inverse cup and handle there, and we close this inverse cup back at the 20-day moving average here. Now, when we are looking for that continuation below, right, that handle does not form. We cannot even close the inverse cup back at the low of day right here. And then from there, right, we would probably need another handle. So after this inverse cup back to that 20-day moving average, I explained that I was done for the day here and that you would need to be seeing this right here forming if we were to head back to the upside. So you can see that we don't quite form that right here. This is not quite ready to head up, but at that 20-day, right, that acts as another form of support. You can see we are still within that blue and yellow algorithm right here, and we start to form that inverse head and shoulder off of it. Now, I explained that if this was just a handle right here and we were going to head back down, right, you could pay attention for that, but do not short that unless that does form. And you can see that it does not form, and you would have been in trouble if you kept trying to short this. You see this blue controlled selling on the way up right there as we continue to close this cup and then finally grab that shoulder of liquidity that I talked about earlier, right? Head up and close the cup at this level right here. Now, after closing that cup right here, we're looking for this handle to form, and you can see that we are unable to form that handle right there to get that continuation and close this cup back to the open. But we do start to form this head and shoulder right here. Once again, right, you can see that inverse cup and handle within that white. Same thing, right, head and shoulder right there as we continue closing this inverse cup back to the downside. But same thing, right? You do not see this handle, and ultimately we need to close that cup below the 5-day moving average and retest the low of day, both which do not form. And then you can see how we are still within this controlled selling right here with this blue and yellow, right? So pay attention to how this is starting to build. Same thing, right? Blue and yellow, it's just taking quite some time to form right there, but eventually, right, we do form this cup, and you see that handle within the blue inverse head and shoulder, and then there is that green buying continuation. Same thing right there, blue and yellow controlled selling on the way up, and we reach that 5-day moving average again. Now you can also see, right, that if you are looking for that move to the downside, you need to see that orange selling algo need to be below the 20-day. Got to form that. Otherwise, this is starting to taper right there, and you can see within this blue and yellow, we form that inverse head and shoulder, right? And there is that purple buying continuation back to that 5-day moving average. Like I've explained on the daily earlier, we are between these, and you can see this kind of being the range, right? We tested it here, tested this here, right, over and over. It's like I've been explaining for the past week or so, right? Up here, we wanted to see this 5-day either turn into resistance or support. After this upper Bollinger test, we got that resistance, moved down to the 20, and now at the 20, we are looking for this to turn into resistance to continue heading down to this bottom Bollinger. Otherwise, we can look for this 20 to become support, regain that 5-day, and continue heading up. So is that what is happening right here? We will have to see if we regain and hold that 5-day tomorrow. Otherwise, right, pay attention. We are retesting this 5, and we can finally turn this 20 to resistance. And if that does happen, can look for a move to the downside. We still do have this unfilled gap right here, so pay attention to that right here as well. So now going over what to be watching tomorrow on the 30-minute chart, again talking about the 5 and 20 here. Watch if we do form some sort of support at this 5-day, then we can look for this gap to fill. If we close the gap and then want to continue, watch for that move higher. Otherwise, if this 5-day does continue to react as resistance, watch this 20 and this white algo right here. You can see we've tested it 3 times and it has not broke yet. So if this does break with this head and shoulder, as well as being below that 20, be watching for that orange selling continuation to the downside. So zooming out here, taking a look at the larger view, right, we're still within this inverse cup, looking to form that handle at this 5-day and get below the 20, something we have yet to do. So if we do break out of this, right, you can see the green and white algo for that handle. Be watching for that move down, can look to continue to close that gap to the downside. But that is all for the video, so thank you everyone for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as it does help me out, and I will see members in the morning.